ahead and move forward. Justin, touch that one.
Yeah.
We have a lengthy agenda. So before we go into welcome introductions and announcements, I want to first go over house rules in reference to public comment, because we do have quite a few agenda items to go over. Also want to say thank you for our providers that were able to come in today. So I want to go over housekeeping for public comment. And I forgot to do, sorry, it's the Policy and Budget Subcommittee meeting today. It's October 27th. So a few ground rules in reference to public comment as we go through the agenda. Person who wish to address the Community Advisory Board CAB during public comment on matters within jurisdiction of the CAB that are not on the agenda or who wish to comment with respect to an item on the agenda may comment in person, via Zoom, or via call-in. Those participating in person should make public comment when called upon. Those participating via Zoom should indicate they wish to speak by using the raise your hand feature in the Zoom app, and those calling in to indicate they wish to speak by pushing *9 to raise your hand, raise your hand, and *6 to unmute your phone. Okay. So we'll go ahead and get started with the agenda. So again, I want to welcome you all, do some introductions of the board, and then we will introduce staff and then go around to the public. So I'm Nicole Green. I am the chair for Policy and Budget.
Justin Van Zerber, Vice Chair, West County.
Okay, and then we can go to staff.
Hi, Patrice Guillory, ORJ.
Garyana Youngblood, I'm also with the ORJ.
Okay, thank you. And then we can go to the public. We can start with Zoom first.
Good afternoon. I am Charmaine Hoggett, Divisional Director of Health Right 360 Reentry Network.
Hi, I'm Yolanda Hughes, Lau Family Reentry as well.
Good afternoon, Tiffany Anaya, Interim Site Manager with the Reentry Success Center.
Hi, this is Michelle Albert from Bay Area Legal Aid.
Rachel.
Sorry, I'm driving, so I can't see who's doing what. So I'll just jump in. Jill Ray with Supervisor Candace Anderson's office.
And I am Rachel Rosekind, community member, and I also sit on Measure X Community Advisory Board.
Ozzie Carter, current member of CAB, Chair of Program and Services.
Thank you. We'll go ahead and move to introductions within the room. We can start with you, Michael.
Michael Fitz, with Health Right 360 Reentry Network.
Pat Mims, Reentry Success Center, Rubicon Programs.
Good afternoon, Brody McCoy, Director of Community Programs. Women of Purpose. Ivory Mitch, Women of Purpose.
Welcome, everyone, and thank you for joining. So we'll now move on to the second item of the agenda, which is public comment for any items under jurisdiction of the Community Advisory Board and not on this agenda. Okay, I'm seeing none. So we'll go ahead and move on to our third agenda item, which is the approval of minutes for the September 22nd Policy and Budget Subcommittee meeting. Could you put the agenda up for me, please? Thank you. And that starts on page 4, attachment 1.
I'll move to approve the minutes.
So we have Justin that moved to motion to approve the minutes, and I second that motion.
Nicole, would you like me to take a vote?
Yes, please.
Nicole?
Can you hear me?
Yeah. I'm Nicole.
Oh, yeah. Oh, aye.
That's easy.
It's late in the afternoon. Aye.
Justin?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, motion carries.
Thank you. So I'm going to move a few things around on the agenda. Item number 4, we're going to leave that discussion along with item number 7 to review the CCP meeting on September 29th. So we're going to jump forward to item number 5, which is the debrief of finalizing the CAB recommendations. And that's attachment number 3, page 11 through 16. So on our last full CAB meeting, we did review all of our recommendations 1 through 6. Everybody was okay with that. We did not have it as a voting item. So we're going to bring it back to the next full CAB meeting so that we can all vote on it. But there are no changes to be made to the recommendations.
Great. The only comment I have on it is the formatting of it, not universal.
Wait a minute.
Gariana, do you want me to go through and edit that so it's the same text and formatting?
Okay. Awesome. Thank you. Appreciate that.
That's wonderful though. I'm glad that they are aligned.
And I'm very excited about our recommendation number 7 that's in there. So any public comment about the CAB recommendations on attachment 3, page 11 through 16? I can't see all the hands, Gariana. No? Okay.
They'll come up to the top.
Oh, okay. Okay, Justin, so you will update on that. Okay, so we'll go ahead and move to our next item on the agenda, which discuss updates on data from H3. Justin, you'll go ahead and handle that part. That's attachment 4, page 17.
Yeah, so H3 was really gracious in sending this over. I did follow up and ask for specific data broken out by parole, probation, and incarcerated, ever been incarcerated. The numbers obviously resemble this. My one large takeaway is this data is lower than the general public of the unhoused through the PIC count, which I think is very interesting. So I don't know if there's just an unwillingness to self-declare some of these features, but I think what we were anticipating as these numbers would be higher for this population. But this is what we have, and I still think it's powerful as is. So not sure if we want to share this out with CCP or other groups, but this is what H3 was able to compile for us.
And do you think the numbers could be lower? Because it's pretty much up to the participants if they want to disclose their mental health, substance abuse, or if they're reentering or not. So some of them, I mean, it could be higher if they don't want to disclose their personal situation. I think it'd be nice to also include it if we can. So report to CCP.
Now, this is 1,600 compared to this is the number that was from the PIC count.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It was the total on PIC count.
I was just trying to.
But it was 12. I know this was, the last time we looked at it, was like 12% of the PIC count. I'm guessing this group.
Maybe just over 10,000 people per total.
Yeah. Thank you for collecting that.
I don't know if we wanted to do anything else with this. I think we were just kind of curious.
I think we should hold on to it. We could probably dive a little deeper into it when we do our work group.
Okay.
But this information, it was really important because we wanted to know, which I know Jill was able to provide that confirmation as well, if they were counting those that were Justin impacted, and kind of get an idea of this information. So I'm happy to see it. And then if we need to, when we focus on housing at that point, then we may want to dig into that more.
Yeah, and I think the other thing it shows is like the overlap, right? I think a lot of our takeaways from the recommendation was that these are not siloed issues that we're experiencing. It's a multitude all simultaneously. It's how do we continue to invest in, complete wraparound services instead of just individual interventions?
So I think it will be very important with our further research that we look into, and that it should be included going forward in what we do with the data. Awesome. So I appreciate you collecting that.
Yeah.
Any questions or comments from the public? Seeing none,
Actually, there, my hand is up. I think it kind of like went down. This is Ozzy Carter, and I just really want to express gratitude for actually being able to get some data, and hopefully that this can be implemented across our spectrum. Always good to see things in numbers where we can actually make some more concise decisions when we're moving forward on funding. Actually seeing the numbers is just a beautiful thing for me, because I know for researchers and other people who are trying to allocate funds, it's crucial that we get the data to substantiate our funding efforts. Thank you so much.
I would definitely, I mean, I'm glad that they were able to collect the data in reference to those that are just as impacted, but I would love to see it breaking down more. I mean, a lot of people are really afraid of saying that they've been incarcerated when it comes to dealing with the PIC count or H3. They'd rather say that they have other disorders instead of saying that they're just impacted. But I think that's crucial information that we're missing. Like, how long has it been since they've been incarcerated? How long have they been homeless? To really pull the data together, but it's how do you get them to feel comfortable to bring that information forward. So I think a lot of research and coming together may open this up more, but happy to see that it was collected in the last one. So thank you, Ozzy, for that. Rachel, you have your hand up?
Yeah, I just wanted to offer one more thing too, that there is are planning meetings being held right now for the PIC count, for next year's PIC count. And so it might be a good idea if anyone has capacity within the CAB to attend those planning meetings if you're not already, and to lift this up in terms of how to ask these questions, the questions that you're interested in finding out information about, and even, you know, how to frame them in a way that people might respond more readily in terms of self-reporting. That might be a way to influence the data and the results.
I think that's a great idea. Do you know when the next one is? I know there was one, I think last month, I believe.
Yeah, it's next Friday. I can look up the exact time. I got an email. I know it's next Friday. That's as far as I know, but yep.
Because I missed the first one.
I'll take a look.
Okay, thank you. Okay. Any more questions or comments?
Just another comment for the record. Having been formerly incarcerated, and I know that self-identification of a multitude of areas is very challenging for individuals for whatever reason. And I definitely agree with Rachel that attending the PIC meetings in order to kind of construct a more user-friendly vocabulary. And I think our experiences with our initial in-custody surveys, it was a demonstration of how uniquely we have to construct the questions in order to glean the information that we're seeking. So thank you so much, Rachel, for that input. And definitely, I would definitely like to attend the PIC meeting if possible, if we get some dates soon.
Thank you for that, Ozzy. Go ahead, Rachel.
Yeah, it's from 1 to 3 next Friday, November 3rd. And you know, I don't have access to the chat. I would drop the link in to register, but I don't have access to the chat. But if you go to it should be on the H3's website, I believe they list all their public meetings. They have a calendar that you can kind of navigate to, and this one should be listed. But Friday, November 3rd, 2023, from 1 p.m. to 3 p.m. is the point in time count working group meeting.
Thank you. Any other comments? Seeing none. All right, so we'll go ahead and move now to the agenda item number 4 that I moved down. So we're going to discuss updates from the CCP meeting on September 29th, which is attachment 2, page 7 through 10.
Yeah, so I'll take this on. So, at the last CCP meeting, this is just one of a few, agenda items that we cover at that meeting, but we thought it was in preparation for you all discussion of the budget request. Wanted to provide you a backdrop on, actual expenditures of AB 109, funds over the past year, 22-23. So at the CCP meeting, actually ran through this kind of quickly, but overall wanted to share what the total revenues that were budgeted for versus what actually came into the county. So you had about over 32 million that was budgeted for, and excuse me, let me go to total. Total budgeted for was just over 34 million. And we got as close to that as possible with the little extra there. And then in terms of total expenditures, the county budgeted for about 35.2 million. Actually spent just over 31 million, leaving a balance of 3.4 million that were unspent dollars last year. And this is a totality of expenditures across all county agencies as well as our community programs. Our fund balance continues to grow. So as you can see where we're at in terms of actuals, we are close to now almost 40 million overall in fund balance. The good thing is that CCP has agreed and it is supported by PPC that 15 million of that fund balance be set aside for one-time allocation to cover and expand services that CAB has recommended, in the areas of housing, employment, behavioral health, and pre-release engagement, which we'll talk about a little bit later in the agenda. So those are the big numbers there of the last fiscal year. If you go down to the next page, which is page 8 in the agenda packet, this is the breakdown of what we call the reimbursement tracking that's billed to the AB 109 account of the last year per agency. When you go down to community programs, that's the total for all of the providers that you all heard, well, that POP programs and services heard from, oh gosh, was that last week? Week before last? Time is just running against each other. So you can see about 82% of the budget amount was spent down for that line, but for many of the others, they got really close. They were either at 100% or close to. We have a couple of outliers, such as probation, was this behavioral health, is at 78. I think that's us. No, sorry, EHSD reentry was at 65%, ORJ was at 70%. So those are the kind of variances, if you will, of expenditures per agency, of the funded agencies last year.
Did anyone speak to like why their entire budget wasn't expended? I mean, I think we heard a lot from behavioral health about needing additional dollars, and this is showing over, $500,000 in unspent funds.
Yeah, no time really was allocated for those questions to be asked, and so departments didn't speak to that. Typically, that would happen years prior. We get this information on a quarterly basis. This time we only had it for a year, and so at a certain threshold of funds being underspent, typically those departments or agencies are asked to give information. So that didn't happen at this past CCP, so I can't report back as to why. I can though speak on ORJ. We have had significant vacancies for some time now. So that really does make up for the underspending both in our staffing line as well as some of our operations, because some of our equipment and what have you are tied to the staff that would be on board.
And if we were to ask, so like community programs is $1 million balance, like is the ORJ or CCP able to give us kind of a breakdown by organization of where that spending is underspent?
I'm not prepared to do that today.
Yeah.
However, there are providers in the room and online that can maybe speak to, generally speaking, what has happened. Keep in mind, our community program is on a 3-year contract cycle. So, you know, operations ebb and flow. Everyone's experiencing quite significant hiring challenges. I can also say pretty confidently, though I have the numbers in front of me, a lot of our providers are also seeing an increase in referrals and an increase in clients. So we will likely see even in this current fiscal year, actual kind of spend down.
Okay.
So folks are coming off of receiving COVID assistance, things like that, the different agencies were able to leverage. So that's my general take as to why that there was some, and also, sorry, we also started their contracts late too in the initial year.
Yeah.
So there's that too. So there are a number of different scenarios and situations that kind of came into play with our community programs specifically.
I would love to dive into this more in our working groups and kind of really pick that apart.
Well, the funny part about it was that was going to be an add-on to our
Awesome.
work group. It was one of the questions that I had to be able to see more of a breakdown of not just the CBOs, but any of the county programs, like how you brought up H3 as well as behavioral health, because they are asking for additional funding. So how can we see where the reason why the funding isn't broken down, like where are they having those gaps and barriers? I also agree with Patrice. A lot of individuals are having staff turnaround. COVID and so on, but be able to see the real data, I think would be great doing our work.
Awesome.
So that is one of the bullets.
Great.
That will. I was getting excited over here, Justin. I do see that Jure and Dante Blue have their hands up. I'm not sure who had a raise first. Whoever like
Dante can go first because I'm still looking at my question, an answer to my question.
Thank you.
All right. Yeah, I was just going to speak to this question around kind of leftover funds, and I can just speak from Rubicon's perspective. Couple things. I think Patrice really laid out a lot of the realities. You know, for us specifically, you know, during COVID, we actually identified other like participant support funding sources, right? To where we were able to leverage a lot of those funds where we normally probably would have leaned into this contract's participant support fund. And so a lot of those funds went unspent. Also, the staffing is a huge one, right? Because when you build out the budget, you presume all your positions are going to be staffed 100% of the year. So anytime, even if a person, you know, decides to leave and you lose them for a month, right, to take you to fill that position, it's always going to be money that you're not going to make up in that particular contract year, right? And so for us, I want to say we have quite a few FTEs on this project. You know, it's more than 12, I believe. And so we did, you know, we were lucky to early on in the pandemic when people were seeing a lot of turnover. We really didn't until like the last, you know, probably 18 months or so is when we really saw the most turnover in our projects and our programs. And so that was also a significant part of, you know, the underspending. Traditionally, we had been able to kind of roll over money between years on the contract, which is something that changed recently. And so I think that was also strategically something we weren't prepared for, because the decision that we were making internally was assuming our ability to do that. And so then when we weren't, we actually left money on the table that we probably wouldn't have otherwise because of that kind of strategic change. So I think between those three things, you know, leveraging other funding sources, the ability or inability to kind of fill staffing gaps that occurred, and then you know, strategically not being able to roll money over as we would have anticipated, which meant we would have spent money differently, kind of all contributed to where, at least for Rubicon, you know, we kind of had to understand. I know we had one of the larger contracts, so I'm sure that out of this $1 million, that's, you know, a significant portion is probably ours, probably, you know, at least a couple $100,000 most likely. So.
Can you elaborate on that a little bit more when you said unable to roll over, something changed with, what does that mean?
Yeah,
So
Oh, go ahead, I'm sorry.
No, I was just gonna say, so, there has been some internal, let's see, this is the best way to put it. There's been some internal, I would say debates about whether or not, community programs within their 3-year contract award are able to roll over dollars to where their budgeted amount for that annual year may very well supersede or go over the annual allocation that is set by CCP. So trying to resolve the ability to then, you know, when services are influx and there's some identified unspent resources that you could possibly use to apply elsewhere for the next fiscal year, kind of becomes a bit of an issue. So still working through how to better plan, or especially since providers are going into their final contract year next year. In hopes to provide, you know, more support as needed for this current fiscal year and next.
Thank you. I believe you had a comment. Thank you, Dante.
Yeah, so my question was, because I thought that the quarterly reports included the footnote for anybody who didn't spend their money, but I noticed it didn't. But I do want to point out that we had a staff change supporting CCP. So I have reached out to Anid and asked what happened to that description for those people that it applies to. So hopefully we'll have that at the next meeting, because I think that is important. It's a policy that was put in place and agreed to by CCP.
Thank you. Any other questions before Patrice moves on? What's any question? Keep going, Patrice. You keep going.
Okay, so that pretty much concludes the portion of the CCP meeting that discussed this item in terms of last year's quarterly financial reporting. So he wants to move to item 7. So now we're in.
So it says 7 through, let's stop at 8. It says 7 through 10. So if we're done with that section, and yes, we can go ahead and move to item number 7, which is the budget request for our community programs.
Yeah, so for item 7, what we prepared for you is the budget request from last year for that is in effect this year. So you're always preparing for that. So we're in the budget cycle now for AB 109 funds. Next CCP meeting, which is November 17th, there will be a budget workshop in which all funded agencies will submit a proposal or request for the next year. In prior years, CAB has recommended the 3% COLA increases. And last year's request was to keep it as status quo. I will say though that though 3% COLA increases are included in the community programs budgets, the county has gone up to 5% COLAs. So our department will be reaching out to programs to make budget amendments to ensure that additional bump is included for both this year and for next year. So what you have before you is the current amount that is set by you guys, that's in effect for 23-24. On that first page, page 20, we have the contracts line, which is basically the total amount for all of the agencies. The quarterly newsletters, which is administered by Reentry Success Center over at Rubicon, supported by Health Right 360, Reentry Network. And then we have this small amount here, 3,000 for cab operating expenses. Just a footnote, we will be utilizing that to cover lunch, Ozzy, just so you know, we will cover lunch for the retreat. And we will
Yeah,
pull the
nice
property
lunch.
line. So in case anybody from the public asks, why does the cab spend down his own money? You can say we've been able to apply it. You go to the next page, page 21, and the allocated amounts broken down per contract. So you see that there. And that's your current line. Those are your current allocated amounts there that they requested for this year. So that gives you context as you now will hear from, or you will review in just a minute, budget requests from our current community program providers. Not all submitted. You will see before you a request of increases from Bay Area Legal Aid, Rubicon for its AB 109 employment program, Health Right 360, the Reentry Network, the Reentry Success Center, and I covered everybody. Oh, sorry, the minimum of purpose, yes. And representatives from those agencies are here to answer any questions you might have. But I'm happy to support you guys as we go through this. Another kind of context to this is that all the providers, as requested by programs and services, did attend the September and October meeting to present on their programs, how it works, how referrals flow in, and they also shared at those meetings what gaps they're seeing, what needs that they're seeing among their clientele, and from there, kind of lay the foundation for some of the requests that you see before you today.
Okay. And that starts on page 23. So I'm excited to see the providers here. I do see everyone from each one have submitted. I did get a chance to look at this ahead of time. I'm not sure if you did, Justin, or not. But we could take a second to give others to kind of read through. And if as we go through the agenda, if the provider wants to add something, we can kind of go allow you to. Do you want to speak up about something that's on here? I did get a chance to attend the programs and services meeting and made some notes, but we'd love to be able to have discussion if there's anything in addition that you want to add. So the first one that we have here is Bay Area Legal Aid. I believe I've seen someone on the call on Zoom.
Before we do that,
Go ahead.
yeah, Patrice, on page 22, it says that the current baseline amounts are include a 5% COLA.
Yeah,
I thought you were saying that.
that's what. So in their current contracts, when CAB asked for like the 21, 22, that for the next 3 years that the providers have 3% COLAs. The county recently went up to 5%. So now we have to go through and do budget amendments to make sure that they have that
Up to
that
the
total
5%.
amount. Yeah.
Okay, great, thank you.
Okay to move forward?
Yep.
Okay.
Just trying to stay on.
It's okay. No, definitely. If you catch something, that's the purpose. So stop me as I go. I believe we have someone on there from Bay Area Legal Aid.
Yes.
Hi, how are you?
Good, how are you?
I'm fine. So I did get a chance to look at this. I didn't really have any question.
Are there restrictions on indirect costs for these types of? You said 22.88%. I know we talked a lot about allowing providers to have flexibility in spending, but not sure this is aligned with county priorities as well. I think.
Yeah, I don't see that there was, it depends on the per agency. We try to keep it in alignment with, what is, what was the term for it? What they have sought as their, what is federally approved. Yeah, so, we work with them in that regard.
So to give some context for our indirect cost rate, that is based on our proposal for a federally approved indirect cost rate, which our current rate is with Housing and Urban Development. For the 22.88 to be federally approved.
And Michelle, are you able to talk to your agency's ability to spend down their dollars in this last fiscal year?
Sure. So, like everybody has already said, I would definitely reflect and echo what they have said with some staff turnover, some staff taking unexpected leave. You know, it takes time to hire even a temporary attorney. I think our unspent funds were pretty small. I believe it was about $6,000. So it was definitely staffing issues.
My first time going through this process, so any guidance you have.
Me too. We didn't win this together.
No.
Last year, staff members decided to kind of have a status quo.
Yeah, I didn't make-
So, you know, it's all kind of depending on the direction of the cap, how you guys like to.
So, yeah.
The budget year.
So this year is a little bit different. We have some momentum in reference to our recommendation. So we are going through this first process together. I don't really have any. I thank you for the question that you did ask, because that was the only one I had for them. So thank you, Michelle, for answering that question. We'll guide each other through this. We got Patrice in the corner.
So this would just come out of the balance of funds in the general operating budget though, correct?
Yeah,
This is
so-
not of the 15 million.
No, this
No.
would, this would be out of.
Okay. And do we,
So-
sorry.
So we have to decide after looking at this if we want to agree and make a recommendation to CCP that for them to take a look at this for the 24-25 budget, or if there's something in here that we may want to hold over to our work groups for the 15 million.
Yeah.
Or break it down a little bit.
Yeah, sorry, I meant to mention this earlier. So that form, this form right here that you're looking at, the breakdown there, you'll see in, so for those that are on call, just for reference, page 20. The way that this form is structured, CAO's office requests of all of the funded agencies to outline their baseline expenses. And then if there is any request to either reduce or increase funding, we can do so in the column that's titled Program Modification Request. And then offer those final dollar amounts. So for CAP, if let's say of all of the requests that you have received today, all of which are increases, if these are all the ones you say, yes, we definitely want to move these forward, we want to ask CCP to consider this for the budget, then our fiscal team will then include that in the budget request line. So it'll show their current allocation, their increased amount that they're requesting for in the program request, program modification column, and then the total amount for that line. And that would go into effect for the next fiscal year.
Do you have a total of all of these requests?
No, nothing. It's total of the requests that were received, or no, I don't have a total.
Okay.
I believe they are total out there.
Right, I'm just thinking like the Bay Area, I just want to make sure I'm understanding this completely. So like Bay Area Legal Aid already has a 24-25 allocation, right? So it would be helpful to understand what that is in comparison to what the request is.
So
Is there a way to look at that?
so you would see on, yes, if you go to page 19,
Mm-hmm.
so this long chart here,
Mm-hmm.
which says legal services.
16610.
Yeah.
Oh, and they
see
put it
the
down at the
total,
bottom,
yeah.
so an increase of $56,000. Thank you. You want to move to the next one?
So next one is health right. So on page 25, they gave a budget narrative. Then they also included a template.
And is theirs broken down in here, Patrick, for the community program?
Yeah, that would be the network system of services line.
Great. So this is a request on top of the $1 million?
Yeah,
Okay.
these are all requests for increase.
And then we have Mike, when I believe Charmaine is on Zoom, if you would like to add anything to what was submitted.
Good afternoon. First of all, hello. Sorry, something's wrong with my camera, so I apologize that it's off. But looking at our budget and what we submitted, no, at this time, I would not add anything else. This is what we have noticed as pertaining to gaps as we're working with our clients. I truly do believe that these 4 areas that we have included will definitely be able to help our participants as they continue to transition back into community and be successful. So I would like to keep it just the way it is. Michael, do you have any comments?
I would just add that, I just want the committee, the advisory board to know that, when we actually looked at, breaking this down, we really focused on that it was participant based, and we really wanted to augment the services that we were already providing and finding those gaps. And so, let's just say that we were, very frugal in looking at these numbers and trying to find the best balance of what we thought would be an appropriate ask as far as financial, and that we would get the most bang for the buck. So we really feel like what we're requesting is it would be impactful, and that it's a conservative kind of numbers.
I had a few questions, because I know thank you for submitting this, and I know it's in addition to what you're already providing. So, when it comes to the Chromebook incentive, does that include any type of, well, I'm not if you've already been using that. Do you provide any technology stuff or just the laptop itself? Is there anything else included in reference to the Chromebook or just getting the laptop? Is that funding going to cover anything else for that individual?
Hotspots.
I'm not sure.
Okay.
We were thinking about the hotspots that go with them as a way to be able to help out. So that's what we were thinking, the Chromebook with the hotspot, so that they can be able to surf the internet, do this or do that.
Thank you.
And the laptops, and if you look in our narrative, it is for the client, but we also included, the family, because there are sometimes, families, they don't have, they don't have Chromebooks, they don't have a laptop, they don't have a computer base, and if you recall during COVID, when our children was out of school, the school provided them with the Chromebooks and with the hotspots. And that was very helpful because some people didn't have the Wi-Fi and different things like that. So that's why we considered the Chromebook with the hotspot.
So what has been your success in your, if you can give a little bit of information, your success and outcomes in reference to what you're doing right now, like providing them with the Chromebooks as well as helping them with their job readiness. And I like the fact that you added in the DV classes in there because I know that that's needed. So what have you seen with, like, how has that helped the participants in a way?
Well, I think it's been helpful. We kind of had a process with the Reentry Success Center where we did have that first group of laptops. So, but it's been valuable with folks. And again, this is anecdotal. I don't have numbers in front of me right now, but it has been very helpful as far as, especially with job search, and also coming out of the pandemic, a lot of actually even outpatient has been switched over during Zoom. So folks have access because, you know, we've had a lot of guys with smartphones trying to do all these classes on their phone, and it's been really helpful in that area.
So far this calendar year, we have provided 14 of the Chromebooks. And like Michael said, it is very essential, it's very important. And when we give them out to the clients, they are so grateful, you know, for having this opportunity to have this, because it does help them do the job searches. If there are meetings that they have to go to, then say it's in person, but they can't make it, but say they also offer it virtual, then that'll be a help them too. But so far it's 14, and we base it on progress towards the program, successful progress, them working the program, working on their treatment plan goals. And so because it's an incentive, it's something they have to work towards. So the ones that we have given out thus far have been truly grateful, very thankful. And when it's all said and done, we do take a picture with them, and their smiling faces show how much gratitude that they have. So it is definitely beneficial.
Thank you. No questions I had.
Yeah, I have no questions on this one.
Okay. Both.
One overarching
you.
question, Patrice. With these increases, would this go into the baseline moving forward, or is this like a one-time allocation of funds?
It would presumably go into the baseline moving forward unless Scott requested a change or modification.
I guess that would be my question then for Health 360, circling back, if you feel like this is something that can be sustained indefinitely, and this is a gap that you see needing to be filled moving forward, or is this a one-time kind of project and
Well, we see it as an ongoing, and also part of it is, you know, what's that saying is build it and they will come. So even what we saw with the gaps with the mandatory 52-week DV, that's something that a lot of our participants are dealing with trying to be able to afford that. So that's not something that's going to go away.
Right.
And also as far as augmenting how much we may provide with support with work supplies and things like that, that's another thing that as we look and thought that there were some gaps, that's something that will continue. And then when folks know that that's something that we provide, then, you know, we maybe get people referred to us accordingly.
Thank you.
So in the last, I'll say maybe 2 or 3 months, we've only been able to assist 2 of our clients with those DV classes. In the past, it really wasn't, you know, a big issue. So therefore, we maybe didn't see a lot of clients that came in that needed that type of financial support for these mandatory classes. So with that being said, now that we kind of find out that, okay, well, hey, this is a gap that we didn't look at in the past, but now we are. So the 2 that we've been able to help thus far, again, they were very appreciative. No, we couldn't afford to pay for the whole 52 weeks, but we were able to pay for at least the first 4 to 8 classes. And that was very helpful for them. And they really appreciated that, because at least it was something to get them started while they thought about maybe other options that they had to be able to fulfill the other classes. So yes, all of this will be definitely ongoing.
Thank you. That's it for Health 360.
Okay. Okay, so our next one is Rubicon RSC. We have Pat Mims, and I believe Tiffany is on Zoom. Do you want to give a little extra, what you submitted?
Okay, within this proposal, I'm Pat Mims, I'm Director of Reentry Services for Rubicon Program. I oversee the Reentry Success Center. And what I've submitted here is actually two proposals. And one, the first being a renovation of our center. And when I say our center, it's a county center. It is not a Rubicon center. For our contract, if we were to not be in operation of the center, it would go over to the county. The center has been in operation since 2015, in which we've served over 5,000 individuals. And you can imagine within that time, the wear and tear that has happened with the center, from the paint to the chairs, to the tables, to the computers. They're slow now. It's time for an upgrade of this building. And I think it's important that it represents Contra Costa County, as we've been the model of the collective impact model for centers. Alameda County just recently opened a center. I want to say it's a mirror of ours. However, it's dated 2023 and not 2015. With this request, I'm asking for 115,000. I think I've laid out essentially every cost that comes with this. Sure, there may be some surprises along the way, and I'll definitely share that with the county as they come up. However, it's pretty detailed in what I'm asking. The second proposal is around some of the things that have just been unfunded that we've been supporting. We provide transportation for individuals on PRCS that are coming home from state prisons in collaboration with probation. They send us an email letting us know when an individual is to be released. We reach out to that individual. We communicate with them and provide a reentry plan for them to acclimate back into the community along with the transportation. That is both well, because with that communication inside, relationships are being built. And by the time they hit the center and back in Contra Costa County, they're pretty much ready to go and have folks that they have support in their transition back. Hygiene kits. This is in partnership again with probation. They purchased new vans that are going out into the community to work with clients. They met with me in regards to these vans and said, hey, can you come up with some hygiene kits that they're receiving at the RSC for our van? Utilizing additional funds and kind of being creative in how we've done this, we've been able to support that project. And these are at cost that was not allocated in our contract. We're looking to have that funded as well. Clean Slate Day in partnership with the Public Defender's Office as well. This is a couple of times a year in which we basically block off the street of McDonald, and we work with 35 service providers or more. And we invite the public to come, and anyone that's been justice impacted will not only receive services, they will also be able to get their record expunged. And these funds go towards just supporting that project more so than anything else, as well as our block party. We started a block party 2 years ago as COVID opened. And it's been very successful as we serve I want to say, per block party, over 300 people, in which 35 to 40 providers come out, music, things for the kids. We really work to build community over at the RSC, and it's supportive to all those that are in reentry and those disconnected from reentry and services, an opportunity to connect without having to go from county building to county building or resource to resource. So within those two, I'm asking you for 30,000 for the center expenses and 150,000 for the center upgrades.
A quick question for you. I know that you said it's two parts. So for the center upgrades, are you asking for one-time funding for the second part? Is that ongoing or one time for both?
No, that's ongoing for one time for the 150,000 upgrade and the ongoing for the expenses for the center for the 30,000.
Thank you.
Can you talk a little bit more about this line item of transportation? I see you have it detailed here, and you were alluding to kind of helping people get back to their community from incarceration. But it's just like a kind of a blanket number. So how do you come to that number of 15,000? Like how many people are you serving, or what services are you utilizing to provide them that transportation?
Okay, so we're utilizing partner service, Bonafide, in which they pick individuals up across the state. They drive them back to the Reentry Success Center, and they're acclimated in the service, acclimated to services. In addition to that, we are pre-release. We pick individuals up throughout the county who are being released. The Office of Education may send us an email and say, hey, there's a request for transportation. Our team will go in, arrange that transportation, be there the morning for pickup, and have them Ubered home. So transportation is not only for individuals across the state that are coming out post-release custody, they are for individuals that are leaving our county jails as well. At one point, we held an innovations contract that was solely about transportation. That contract sunsetted during COVID, and we just have been picking up transportation since because it's been a great addition to reentry services for individuals.
So this is based off a historical.
Yes, it's based off of historical. I can give you, I have a few numbers here. Just within the last year from state prisons alone, $3,500.
I'm reading.
I like the idea of utilizing one-time funds to revitalize infrastructure, especially if it's county owned. I don't have any concerns there. Can you talk about what's involved in a hygiene kit?
In the hygiene kit, toothpaste, underwear, resources as well. Anything that you can think of, socks, toiletries, all of that. They add up to about $30 a kit, along with a Reentry Success Center bag. It has to go into something. We're not giving it in paper bags. So we give them a little backpack bag along with it as well, that they can utilize after utilizing the kit.
Awesome. Thank you.
So backing up to transportation, so what are the qualifications for someone to get transportation from county jails? And has there been any barriers that you really faced with that?
The only barrier that we face with transportation is getting to the jail, and they have already been released, or they haven't been processed through. Working with the sheriff, though, we have come up with pretty much a solution of programs released. So that's worked well. Does that answer your question?
Yes. Yes.
Nicole, Ozzy had a
Hello for
question.
you.
Oh,
I
no,
didn't see it.
it's just Ozzy had a question.
Go ahead, Ozzy.
Thank you, and thank you, Pat Mims, for your overview. I do have a question as well with the transportation piece. When you were explaining that initially, you made a statement that you kind of make contact prior to their release. So I have actually two questions prior to their release, and could you walk me through that process? And my second question would be, is there any data that you've derived from those specific transportation events? And do you keep a track maybe from where the demographics, specifically male, female, maybe ethnicity and different demographics such as that? So hopefully I'm not confusing you with the two-part question. The first one is about the transportation and how the process flows and how your contact initiates with the specific individual coming back.
Okay, in partnership with Game Plan, thank you, Ozzy, and good to see you again as well. In partnership with Game Plan for Success, we receive a referral from within the jails. We will then go through the jail, meet with that individual, enroll them into the RSC program, develop what's already been established with the reentry plan from Game Plan for Success, and move forward with transportation. Some individuals will request transportation. Some individuals will say, no, they do have a ride. However, at that point, they're also enrolled in Game Plan for Success and RSC. And we will go and pick them up and take them to the RSC, get them acclimated back into the community with what their needs might be, immediate needs, and that's about stabilization. If they have no clothes, we want to make sure that they get clothes. If they need housing, we want to make sure that we get them to that housing that they're looking for, or get them to their family. So this transportation is not, hey, we pick someone up and then we take them out into the community. We take them to the resource hub and we allow them to do all the necessary processes to go into the community safely. Question number one, okay? Question number two, around the demographics. I believe that you can reach out to Denise. I do not want to say her name. Zapovich, who carries our SAFE data. And this information is shared in SAFE about the demographics, the transportation, the pickups, all of that should be there.
Well, thank you for that. I would like to go back to question number one. You gave me an overview of county facilities. What about state prison and any other federal prisons? Might you also provide transportation in those instances as well?
Not federal prisons. As of yet, we're not funded to do so with these funds. However, state prisons, post-release community supervision, we are allowed to work in partnership with probation. Probation will send a referral to us 30 to 90 days prior to their release. We have a program at the Reentry Success Center called Staying Connected. It's a correspondence program in which we immediately send that individual information about the resources that are available for them upon returning to the community. And we set up the ride for them to be picked up and brought to the Reentry Success Center. Mind you, the Reentry Success Center is open from 8:30 in the morning until 8:30 in the evening, which some individuals coming, depending on where they're coming from in the state, sometimes land at the center at 8 p.m. in the evening. So to have that support, that transportation, that support of the center being open at those hours, we can acclimate them into either our partner shelter or into the community to their families safely.
Thank you for that. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Good questions, Ozzy. Have any more questions, Justin? Okay, I don't have any more questions regarding that proposal. So next we have,
Nicole, Dante has his hand
yes.
raised.
I'm sorry, go ahead, Dante.
Just quickly, so as Rubicon, I think we submitted 2 requests, one for our employment program and one for the Success Center. I don't think our employment one made it into your packet. Not sure what happened there, and just want to think about process and how we can rectify that.
Yes, I'm seeing that now. Our apologies, Dante and to Rubicon, they did submit a proposal that is not in this packet right now, so, what we can do is I can provide a verbal, overview of their request, for you all to consider, and then we'll make sure that it also gets included in the full app, agenda packet once they review, the request that you all want to have recommended to the full cap to.
Okay,
Yeah, my apologies.
I'm fine with
No
that.
worries. Want to make sure I squeak and the wheel gets oil. That's all.
No, thank you for calling that out.
Give a verbal.
You want me to do it now?
Oh, yeah,
Okay.
yeah, I'm cool with that.
All right, yes, let me.
And I can do it for you, Patrice, if you'd like.
I think one second, you got me here. And I'll just punt it to you to give any other clarification here.
Absolutely.
All right, well, I'm having a glitch in my computer, it's not opening. But I could just say generally speaking, and you can give more details, Dante. Rubicon program has asked or is making a request of, I believe the total amount was, and I can't recall, but a good chunk of that, I know about 200,000 is being requested to expand their employment services to provide support to specifically to pretrial population. They're actually currently in talks with the probation department to do that right now for this fiscal year.
Okay.
So the request would be to ensure that that continues and moves on into 24-25. I will say, I do know that internally there is a desire to make that contract a multi-year contract. That would be funded through another funding source. However, we just have not come to the full conclusion on that. So with that said, though, in the event that does not happen, Rubicon is seeking to have that covered through AB 109 resources for the next fiscal year.
And can we expand on what that employment service will look like for you said pre and post?
No, just for pretrial.
For pretrial, what would that consist of? What would it look like?
Yeah, I could give those details. Would you like me to do that, Patrice?
Yes.
All right. So, it's a few components. So a lot of it kind of mirrors what we're already doing with our with the regular AB 109 contract, which includes offering transitional employment and or on-the-job training, which is the difference between those. Transitional employment is usually up to 90 days. Temporary employment for those to develop some of the soft skills that are necessary to try to ensure that when they do obtain permanent employment, they're actually able to retain that. Where on-the-job training is more so an employer, you would pay kind of partial wages for a certain amount of time. It's usually up, around 90 days as well, interestingly enough. But the idea would be that is that they're actually going into a position that's a permanent position, and this will give an opportunity for them to learn that job while on the job and then transition into that permanent position. And so offering a few of those opportunities. The other kind of the two that are not part of that current services that we offer under AB 109. One is that, with the pretrial population, because they're on pretrials monitoring, they're on a caseload where it's slightly different than, once you've gone through trial and, been convicted, there's a little bit less. And a probation officer, can't kind of really tell you what to do. They can kind of make some offers. And so it's usually harder to get that population into services because they haven't gone through the system yet. And so there was an incentive for actually signing up for services, getting a plan, and then starting your first service of $100 per person. This was going to serve, I think, altogether, through the various parts of the program, around 40 people or so. And then the last piece of it was an add-on, which is also something that we're looking to, as part of this proposal, looking to potentially expand to our AB 109 population, but it is our stipend-supported training. So for individuals who are going into a training program, we recognize that there were challenges with them completing training and how can they be supported so that they can do a training that can improve their job prospects, trying to provide those individual stipends while they are enrolled in that training. And that training is, potentially leading to some type of industry recognized certification. So again, there's the kind of the subsidized wage piece, there's the incentive for enrollment, and then there's the piece to encourage and support individuals through stipend supported training.
This is, correct me if I'm wrong, this is going to be is this a modification to their current budget to include pretrial? It's not one time, right? Ongoing?
So, I think when we made the proposal, we kind of made them all as kind of one time, really, but realizing that, we really only have 1 year left in the contract, right? So the question is, does it modify the base? I think that we probably would be wanting to support the pretrial for an ongoing amount of time, but it's again subject to what Patrice said earlier, right? If there is a separate funding source, then obviously we wouldn't need to leverage this funding source for that kind of going forward. But yeah, I do think that we want to try to find ways to continue to support this population in an ongoing fashion.
We know if there's a confirmation on those funds, like if they need this additional funding for this.
We should know fairly soon, at the very least, before my goal will be to get that answer before the next CCP meeting.
We can make it conditional based on
the, okay.
Yeah, ORJ.
Okay.
We'll be cognizant of time.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. And I want to make a comment.
So the other two pieces of the request, so that was pretrial continued, and then we had two other pieces which were where I spoke to expanding stipend supported training to our AB 109 population, which we had at 195,000, and that would support about.
Can you repeat that, Dante?
Stipend supported training, so similar to what I just explained on the pretrial, but having that for the regular AB 109 population, and the amount would be 195,000, and that's serving about 40 individuals, 16 weeks or up to 16 weeks, at up to $300 or at $300 a week. So that's how we get to that number. And for those that don't know, our contract number for employment services is about 200. So 40 would represent about 20% of the individuals who tend to engage in some type of credential training. Probably we usually have a little bit more than that, but part of our exploration here is to see how this works and see how this supports, because we've done this in other projects where we've co-enrolled folks and seen success, but we've never done it explicitly for the AB 109 project. So that's one piece. The second piece is our transitional employment. Right now, I think we have somewhere around 120 to 125,000 for transitional employment, but we are there's a large need. There's a lot of individuals who never worked or who have had kind of spotty work records, and so we have tended to kind of dip into that quite a bit, and actually I think had to support that substantially with other resources over the past couple of years, and so we wanted to add an additional 65,000 to that pool. So expanding that from, like I said, about 120 to around a little over 180,000. And so those two, 195 plus 65 comes up to about 260. And when you add the indirect, that's another 40,000 for our indirect rate on those, which brings that to a total of 300,000.
Stuff in front of me. I don't really have any questions, but I would probably want to hold that over to our work group for employment.
Definitely.
We can kind of look into it some more and ask additional questions. So for the first part, I agree with you. Be based on what happens before the CCP meeting.
Mm-hmm.
I know that we're close to time, so we're probably going to go over a little bit. I apologize. I appreciate the feedback and conversations, but I want to give the right amount of time to Mr. I know what you feel like it's rushed. So if you're okay going over, I want to make sure that, and those that are on Zoom, we're probably going to go past 3. If you're okay with that, if you need to leave or drop. Okay with that? Okay with that? Okay. So we'll go ahead and move forward. Thank you, Dante, for bringing up that part and going over both of your submissions. We'll go ahead and move it over to Men and Women of Purpose. I believe those 2 parts, right?
Yeah, I just got the text from.
Yes, it's 2 parts in here. So the first part, I didn't really, well, Justin, if you have questions, I see it was more of an increase in reference to the FT for your peer mentors.
That's correct.
And then you're adding an additional 4th peer mentor.
That's correct.
That was the initial first request.
So I guess my only question is if these are all filled positions or if you're having issues filling them, and then the justification behind having multiple people working 0.2 FTE instead of having 1 or 2 people working like 0.5 FTE or something.
Right now, it currently adds up to 18 hours a month. Not enough time to actually work with individuals
right
in custody and out of custody. We do initially start that West County mentoring program in custody in order to build that relationship, and then the services, the actual hands-on services, once they get out. So 18 hours is not gonna get that. Yeah, so we're asking to double that.
I'm just curious why it's not like 1 full-time position versus these 4 positions that are all.
Well, because we cover all 3 jails.
Okay.
As well. So 1 person just can't do all that running and still be present to work at the office. We're inside and out.
Right.
So it calls 3 individuals. By the way, what might be just in case he steps in. This is his job to take care of that role. So they should step in case I miss something. But you know, because it's, you know, as operations guy going. But you go inside and out. So we're asking to double that. We also increased from the time this budget was established. We also became the mentor for the women as well in custody and out of custody. We're asking for the additional Spanish-speaking individual because there is a language barrier that takes place, and we need to close that gap as well with an additional fourth mentor Spanish-speaking.
So just to reconfirm, so currently the first three mentor positions are currently filled?
The lead mentor position.
It says peer mentor, don't say lead.
Yes, they're currently.
Okay, and then how many actually go in custody and how many are not in remaining off? All of them, both of them?
Yeah. Yeah.
What do y'all make of those?
Yeah, we do have the lead that is basically an outside, but the other ones are inside and out. Women and men, they're inside out, and they're moving between 3 jails.
How many other mentors work with men and how many work with the women population?
Currently, we have one working with you shaking, yeah, you know, one that's currently working.
I don't have a much GPS hat today.
We have one currently working with the women too, and that is only because of the number and size, and then outside, you know, as well.
Okay. And then with your Spanish speaking peer mentor, will they also work with both men and women or just which one?
Both. With the language barrier, we need them to work with both, and maybe just end up as a translator, you know, if that's needed. If it's a gender problem going on there.
I don't have any additional questions regarding that. Okay, and then your second proposal is for the inside-outside engagement. Do you want to talk on that a little bit?
I do. So there was a time when Billy and Purpose had this role previously as inside-outside engagement. And what that person does inside is that we work closely with, currently with GPS, those participants who are in need of mentoring, support services, planning services. And so with them being inside and working closely with GPS, we're also an outside agency as part of our jail community. And that relationship that's built in there would be some of the same people that would be working on the outside engagement in order to be there for them once they get out. The engagement person would help navigate them on the way out with the referral process, the warm handoff especially. So we also intend to pick up and close in on that transportation gap and housing gap with this proposal. So we're proposing to pick those people up who are being engaged inside and request transportation at their release. We transport them to and hand them off with another agency while continuing to work and support them through the navigation process. We're also looking to get funds for an emergency housing situation. I believe the number is $60,000 toward immediate hotel stay, SLE, whatever is needed for those individuals who have constantly been working with men and women of purpose inside jail community program, GPS, and working with other agencies as they come out the door. So we're looking to position ourselves in the gap here in East County 85%, that was the number, 65% of the people in custody are returning back to East County, but somehow they get lost in connection to the service provider. We want to be able to close that gap for that service providers of East County by picking them up, transporting them to and from the next stop, the next service provider that they have been referred to in order to keep them engaged, using that inside relationship in order to make this happen.
Okay, so what I'm hearing is your focus is, because we have, sorry, I'm just gonna talk out loud, because we have RC that covers the West County. So your goal is to focus solely on, is it just East?
No. Okay. In all three parts.
So how would that, I'm just gonna flat out and ask it. How does that, hearing the RC also asking for funding for their transportation, because that's currently what they do now, how would that overlap? Because there's already a service right now that's providing assistance for West. I hear you saying East, but how is that gonna be in collaboration with the current program?
As needed. So, I mean, that it's by request.
So meaning the participant can request.
Yeah, it's by request. So if we're in custody in more than one way. Our relationship is 14 years old with those individuals in custody. We work closely with GPS. We have a shared client base so that we're not duplication of services. And so in that sense, we would be available to them to pick up and transport to and from. We also put in that proposal where we would be responsible for all three sections so that we do not leave a person that is looking for the next person to transport them, and it's someone that they don't have a relationship with. We're there. We've been there, and that relationship is solid. We'll be able to fill that gap with the handoff to the next provider while assisting them with treatment plan, exit plan, navigational services, and referral to the next provider. Letting that provider know that we will be handing them off.
And for the housing navigation, I know that you guys previously, you support housing to a certain extent. You noted that you said short and long-term housing. Can you elaborate on that a little bit more in reference to what the short-term and long-term housing goals and plans are for funding?
Yeah, so, I mean, we were all here at the last CCP meeting. We know that housing was number one on everybody's list. Not just the individuals, but the providers list as well, still currently on that list. So what we're proposing to do with that is for those who cannot find, because that's a small number. That's a small number of people and a small amount of money. We're looking to house these people in an emergency situation, coming out the door. They have nowhere to go. There's no shelter beds. They're not on anybody's list that has bed available. Offer them an opportunity to get a hotel room, right? While we work with providers to find a more stable housing situation within a 5-day period.
In some wording like bridge support when they get released to their next destination, is what you're saying? This would be something I would want to talk about in our work groups around housing and post and pre-release.
Yeah, so I guess I'm a little clarification on what we need to accomplish today, because I think we received a lot of really great information, and I don't want to feel like people's voices weren't heard.
So I think we gotta determine which ones we want to recommend to go in front of CCP, and if there are some that were submitted that we may want to focus on with those addition of access funding and talk about them more in our work groups. If they relate to our four main recommendations: housing, behavioral health, employment, and post and pre-release.
So they all fall within that.
I don't know if you did to make a question or a comment.
Sure.
Go ahead.
So I just want to, with this this is the presentation that had, this number, 65% was thrown out. And I just want to make sure I'm hearing this correctly, because you guys are basically saying that 65% of the people who are referred to the east do not connect with services.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what was said, but I just want to make it clear that you're saying that 65% of the people that you connect with through in custody, that they do not connect back with you because they're coming to Central and East. Is that what you're saying?
No, we were.
Because with Rubicon, I know Rubicon's the president, Center Force, there's a lot of agencies that have a presence in Central and East that are making contact with these people. But I just, when I hear 65%, you're saying they're not getting connected.
I wasn't talking about certified connection at all. I'm talking about participant handoff, warm handoff as it's supposed to happen. 65% of the people who are in custody that we see on a regular basis are returning to Central and East County. Of that 65%, we have noticed that quite a few are returning to custody. And when we ask them what happened, how did it happen, they never made it to a service provider.
Okay.
That's what I'm saying.
So what I would like to do for that second part, so I made a little list in reference to where my thoughts as to see where you would be upon that. So in reference to Bay Area Legal, Health Right 360, and RSC asking for their, what they're requesting for, I am okay with, moving forward. As well as when it comes to legal purpose, asking for the FTE part of it. And then for the Rubicon employment proposal that we're pending for the pre-trial, that is going to be contingent on what happens with CCP. And the two that I would like to hold over to talk about a little bit more in our work groups and focus around housing and so on, would then be the second part of Rubicon.
The
two
inside
piece,
engagement.
yeah, and then this program. And I'm saying that solely before, in order to determine this program and how it's going to work, as I've been saying, I want to see that. So I would like the purpose of the work groups is for us to come together, determine what the barriers are, the gaps are, hear from everyone, if it's county partners and CBOs, and come to a conclusion on what the best program is going to be and how it's going to be allocated out. So I don't feel comfortable today making a decision on a brand new program without us doing more research.
So the one thing, if I can add,
More stuff can.
for in terms of the, and again, my apologies, because you guys aren't seeing the actual proposal out of you, that gave a lot of narrative and very on this piece. Aside from the enhanced pretrial services or employment services for pretrial folks, that's the 200 that we talked about, and that's potential on conversations with probation. But the other items, specifically the stipend supported training, that's 195,000.
Okay.
And the increase in transitional employment, which is 65,000, and then the indirect costs. Those are enhancements to the existing.
Okay.
So they did articulate in their proposal that specifically for the stipend supported training, that this would then serve at least 20% of those currently being served, if I got that right, in their contract. So this is going back to the very folks that they're.
Okay, so it's not new, it's just
So
added.
it's not a new
Okay.
program.
Okay,
Yes,
thank
is
you.
what I want to say. It's not a new program, but just an enhancement of the current program.
Okay, that's a whole different viewpoint then.
And so if you're thinking about separating out that 195, 65,000 and 40,000 will come together as a total of 300,000. That would be the requested increase.
Okay.
I feel like I don't have enough information.
Okay.
Yeah.
So still hold off on those two.
Yeah, I don't know what our timeline is looking like to present this to full board CCP.
So this would, whatever you guys decide today, will go before the cap, the full cap, which will be in November 9th. And as I mentioned, I could be sure that that Rubicon's proposal is included in there, along with the budget form with whatever requests that you all would like to see move forward.
And then when would that be brought to CCP?
So then that has to go into CCP's agenda for the 17th.
Of November.
That's for the budget workshop. Now, it's not, okay, hold on, not one and done.
Yeah.
Okay, because at the budget workshop is where then all funded agencies have an opportunity to present their budget requests. CCP members then deliberate at that time, but no vote is actually taken. The final vote to then recommend CCP's budget on up to the board will take place in December. So there's still some wiggle room
So then I guess.
between, but you know, I do feel, you know, it's imperative. And also throughout this process, any agency at any point can present something else, right? And find that opportunity at their public meeting to share, provide additional update, whatever the case may be. So there is some wiggle room. So I don't want you to feel pressured. And again, my apologies for not including this one proposal. But at the very least, at the next CAB meeting, we can share with them what, as a committee, what your general take is on what you would like to see be requested for 24, 25, and be included for discussion at the budget workshop.
My thoughts. I'm looking for your thoughts. We have to be in a agreement or a discussion or non-agreement.
I think I'm just trying to bring it all together. Yeah, I mean, I think we can move those forward to CAB and have a larger discussion there. The thing that I don't want to happen is having like an hour and a half discussion every couple weeks about the same conversation, right? So I would like to present something that is curated, that is like, we had this conversation with all these people, and this is what our recommendation is, and how do you feel?
And so what are you agreeing to? What I said, or?
Yeah, I agree with what you said. I think we should include the Rubicon expansion.
If I can, I think we should include all of them.
Okay.
In case that helps to refer back to certain items.
Great.
Of any of the proposals, so we can have the updated budget request form as
From
CAB
okay.
with all of the requested amounts, and then also include what was in your packet today, including and Rubicon's request, which wasn't included in your packet today. Sure.
Great.
So when you say all of them, which?
Everything that was presented.
Everything that was presented today, even verbal. So that would be, I'll say this, whichever one you guys want to see move forward.
Okay.
Maybe we should go that way.
Yes.
So that would be, so you all will have to tell me which ones you want to see.
So far, I mean, I agreed upon them, all. The only, what I had recommended is I would like to hear more about the new program that Men and Women in Purpose are proposing. And I would like to talk about that more with our work groups for the 15 million, because that's a brand new program.
Okay, so that should, so you want that then scheduled for a work group?
Correct.
Correct.
And then the rest, everything else, I am okay with.
I'm okay with it as well. Patrice, I think what would be helpful, and I don't know if this is possible, but breaking it off into one-time requests versus ongoing.
Okay.
And maybe a short summary, and then also the larger implications on the overall CCP budget. Like, is the totality of this, I think I was adding up like a little over $1 million. And so what does that look like moving forward? If we're theoretically, if we're expending all of our dollars, where are we gonna net this $1 million in 25, 26?
Yeah, so keep in mind the existing allocation for all community programs is about just over 6 million.
Okay.
And I want to say community programs makes up about roughly 13% of the overall CCP budget.
Okay.
So if you're wondering if it's ballooning to, it is not.
No, I got you. I got you.
It's, you know, significantly less than the other agencies. And I think that's precisely why CCP and other supervisors or board supervisors were thinking like, yeah, no brainer. Let's take that 15 million from the fund balance to expand services even more. So
Okay.
just for context there, but certainly, I can, if I think I heard you all correctly, we want to reserve the inside out to the work group, all the others to be included in CAB's budget requests with the attaching their proposals. And there was one more thing you said,
A differentiation between one-time and ongoing cost.
okay. Thank you.
And I think the other thing to add, Patrice, is for Rubicon, if the pretrial services does
Right.
Yes,
uh,
I will clarify that.
incorporated, then we obviously don't have to augment these dollars.
Yes.
Thank you.
And then done with that part, right?
Yeah.
Done. So due to sake of time, what I can do, I know we're supposed to have discussion over our work group, so we can give you an idea. I know we select our next, policy and budget meeting because the 17th is CCP's meeting, so we need to change our date. And then we need to start thinking about scheduling our special meetings. I did type out an outline of the work groups that I can send to Garyana and kind of share with you to get your feedback.
Great.
We can at least talk about our ideas, on how we're going to spread it out now. And then I can send this over to you for your feedback. And then by the time we come back to our full meeting, we can kind of have an outline of what we want to ask. So initially what my thoughts was to, we're going to break it down. So I was going to break it down with housing first, then behavioral health, employment, pre-post release, and then finally it will be our final result process. The goal is to start in November, but I gave it like a 2-month depending on people and their holidays, who's want to be here. So for housing, I kind of spread it out between November, December, depending. If everyone's available for November, that'd be
Right.
great. This means we'll have 2 meetings in November. Behavioral health, I spread out between December and January. Again, depending on people and their holidays. Employment, the goal is between January and February, post-release February and March. And then the final process results where we will actually review all of our data, all information that we captured, kind of determine the funding allocation recommendations. The program model and design will be March and April will be our final. Depending on, again, it's all based on scheduling and things like that, but try to give us some time to do so. So the next step pretty much would be to, I guess the question is how do we submit to get the providers here in November once we figure out our dates? I just email go out for RJ or?
Yeah, we'll just email them.
Okay.
If they're available.
And that would consist of county programs as well as, CBO that does, I believe Laos is on here as well, or anyone that has any insight in reference to housing. And then once me and him agree on those questions that we may want to ask, are we able to present that to the providers ahead of time? Because there's some data that we're going to need from them.
So would you want them to like come prepared with a?
Yes.
Yeah. So we would want to make sure to have, and if you want them to have any, provide any documents, reports, presentations, whatever, we'll just need to be sure we give them enough time and pull that all together and we can include it in an agenda packet.
Okay.
So that November meeting, I mean, it's gonna be a bit of a.
It's gonna be tight. That's why I put November,
Tight.
December.
Yeah, well, both, November and December will be kind of like tight meetings, but, I think if today we can at least identify those dates.
Okay.
Potentially.
So I'm not gonna be able to do that. I have my work calendar in front of me.
Okay.
It's on a different laptop, but I mean, I can circle back via email on Monday.
Okay, do you, if you pick dates today or
like-
tentative dates? Or
Let's
should
pick
we-
tentative dates now and then you can circle back and tell me if they're working or not. So we can have a date, some dates, and then what I can do, I will send you not you, Garyana, I'll send you what I typed out on Monday, and if you can send that to Justin, that way, the quicker you respond back, then they can know what to send out to the providers, because they're gonna be on crunch time trying to get the information back. So,
The week of the 20th, I'm out of the area, so I could do the week of the 13th or the week of the 27th.
nobody's gonna be around the week of the 20th, so. So you can do, okay, I mean, even if we have to change it from a Friday, I'm fine with that too.
On the Friday, the 17th, which is,
Have to move it anyway.
that's, CCP.
You can do the day before the CCP, the 16th?
You have the programs and services is meeting.
Oh, that day.
16th.
Never mind.
But there are, let's see. Another day that week. If you want the Monday.
What about Monday, the 20th?
The 14th, but that would
Monday the 20th, I'm out.
You just said
That
that.
whole
I'm
week,
sorry,
yeah.
Justin.
That's okay. Either the 13th or the 27th.
Attend what time? Because I have my AOD board.
You tell me.
Well,
Afternoon is fine.
I'm my community advisory board meeting.
Great.
It would have to be in the morning.
I can't do Monday mornings.
13th. What's the other day you said?
Tuesday the 14th. Or Wednesday the 15th.
I could do the 15th. I can't do the 14th.
We got the 15th right now. You do the 15th and the you do the 14th.
Mm-hmm.
Can you do it?
The 15th?
I mean, unless you just wait till the end of end of November, week of the 27th.
How's that week for you?
That's fine. Monday afternoon would be fine.
We have our agenda.
I won't be here, but it doesn't mean your meeting can. And then
I really don't
28th
know.
is going to be a big day. That's a joint, I believe it's the joint BOS and Measure X cap thing on the 28th. I don't know if Rachel is still on or Ozzy. Did I get that date right? Yeah. So a lot of departments or what have you would be probably involved in that. It's gonna be a long day after. Okay.
So we just want to email the dates.
Yeah.
Kinda,
Yeah, we'll do that.
Okay.
Well, okay.
On some dates and then to the labor and see what happens, but it sounds like it's the week of the 27th.
Yeah, and does it sound like there's gonna be a work?
So then that's potentially one meeting in November.
Yeah, so that means the work group will be pushed out to December.
Now, what you could do, here's another option, is that would mean it's a long time for you guys, but schedule
All in one
regular
day?
meeting, and then the second part of that meeting can become a work group meeting.
That'd be something. You let me know how availability you have.
I thought we were utilizing that space as our subcommittee meeting.
Yeah. If
Say
that's the
it
like
only items that
repurposing
you guys wanna talk about.
It depends if we don't have anything to talk about.
Just the work group.
It depends if we don't have anything additional on our agenda to talk about. So it's just expanding, I mean, it's just making our meeting a little bit
Longer, it just
Yeah.
makes
That's
it
it.
being longer.
So we can have one meeting, but it'll just be longer than we function on time.
I mean, yeah,
Yeah, pretty, because it is, or it's either make it longer or have two meetings.
yeah.
Is that better?
But no,
No. Okay. I think I know time is running out, so I just want to make sure I cover everything on here.
You may wanna ask for a public comment.
Is there any public comment on anything? And I appreciate you all for staying late, staying over. So Garyana, do you have our next steps? Justin will send you an email on Monday with his availability for us to schedule for November. I'm gonna send you over my outline for our work group to share with Justin. We already gave you our outline of what we want to do, which we presented at full cab. So really it's us getting our stuff scheduled in these work groups, pretty much.
Mhm.
And that's it.
The only thing I would ask is to repeat what the next meeting dates are, because that was, I lost track.
Have it yet, Jill?
Well, it looks like it will be rescheduled, so they won't have it for November 17th. We're looking for the week of November 27th, so we will stay tuned.
Any
Thank you.
questions? No? Okay, so I appreciate you all. I will go ahead and now adjourn the meeting, and a tentative date is November 27th.
Thank you.
Thank you.